Waverly. The governor of Iowa has declared a public emergency because of the COVID-19 outbreak. The mayor has determined that an in-person meeting of the city council is impossible or impractical without violating the governor's mandates. When an in-person meeting is impossible or impractical, Iowa Code Section 21.8 permits a governmental body to conduct a meeting by electronic means. The meeting will be conducted by video conference using Zoom from the city council chambers. The mayor and necessary staff will be in the council chambers. This evening, I'm joined by City Clerk Carla Geyer, City Attorney Economic Development Director Bill Werger. These 7 council members will not be in the chambers, but will participate via Zoom conferencing. Comments for items that are on the agenda may be made by submitting them prior to the meeting to the city clerk, mayor, or any of the city council members, or by calling 319-596-0179 during the meeting. That's the phone here in the dais. The video audio conference of the meeting will be broadcast on the normal public access channels. We will strive to maintain the quality of the video and audio during that broadcast. Public access is available through this broadcast. Meeting minutes will still be kept and will include a statement explaining why an in-person meeting was impossible or impractical. Carla, roll call, please.
Beaufore.
Here.
Birgen.
Here I am.
Drenkow.
I am here.
Glaser.
Here.
Kangas.
Not there, but here.
Rathe.
Here.
And Snyder.
Here.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I see we also have some city staff on with us as well. We will do the Pledge of Allegiance at this time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, moving forward here, item D, approval of the agenda as presented.
I'll move the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Schneider. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries on the approval of the agenda. Item E is approval of the minutes from the April 20th, 2020 regular meeting.
I'll move approval of the minutes as written.
Second.
Motion by Rathe, second by Drenkow. Any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Item F is our guest council person, Mr. Mark Harms. See you've joined us this evening. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You take just a moment and briefly introduce yourself and
Yep, my name is Mark Harms. I've been a citizen of Waverly for 15 years. I'm a senior quality manager at John Deere, work on new product programs. I've been a friend of Chris going back for a very long time since we were in college together at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. I have a wife, Jody, and we have 5 children in age ranges of 25 to my son, who just turned 16 today.
excellent. Thank you. So you know the ground rules for yourself. You're more than welcome to chime in at any point in time. The only right that you don't have is a vote. So hang in there.
Thank you.
We'll get you through this. Oh, yeah. So just a technical situation. The first meeting we had the capability of broadcasting through YouTube and the television, what the Zoom screen is, that kind of crumbled on us. And so the only thing that you're going to see on YouTube or on the public access channels is going to be a shot from within the dais, whether it be a wide screen or up close to me or whatever. So that's what you're going to see there on the computer. What I'm seeing here, what the rest of the council and guests are seeing, is all of the members and their interaction. So you will catch the audio on the public access as well. All right, item G is a proclamation for National Preservation Month. Proclamation is as follows. Whereas local historic preservation is an effective tool for revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. And whereas historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and all ethnic backgrounds. And whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped us as a people. And whereas May 2020 offers the opportunity to celebrate the significance of historic architecture and community history embodied in Waverly's 4 historic districts by encouraging people to hit the streets and explore walking tours of Waverly's historic neighborhoods, as exemplified in the easy access and printable walking tour brochures on the resources page of the Waverly Historic Preservation Commission website, located at www.waverlyiA.com/HPC resources. And whereas the Waverly Historic Preservation Commission joins with the National Trust for Historic Preservation in inviting citizens to Instagram to share photos of gorgeous old buildings in our Waverly neighborhoods by using the hashtag #ThisPlaceMatters. Now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Council of the City of Waverly, Iowa, do hereby proclaim May 2020 as National Preservation Month and call upon the people of the City of Waverly to join their fellow citizens across the United States in recognizing and participating in this special observance. In witness thereof, I have hereunto subscribed my name, Adam P. Hoffman, Mayor, to be affixed this 4th day of May 2020. Seek a motion to approve the proclamation.
I will move the proclamation as read by the mayor.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Kangas. Any discussion?
As the council liaison to this Historic Preservation Commission, I think they've been doing some great work, and I think this is a great way to recognize the good work they've done.
Absolutely. I'll add one little note in there is the walking tour. Promoting that is something that can be done during our social distancing, getting out for a walk. You don't have to do it all in one day, unless you're a champion walker, that's fine. But I did receive a call from Miss Naiman, who kind of reviewed some of those things. So sitting on a motion in a second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried for the proclamation. Item H is the consent calendar. The following items will be acted upon by voice vote on a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately. Item 1, setting the public hearing date for
Did we miss item G2?
I've only got a G1.
I have something on G2 that's setting a public hearing date.
I've got it on the computer. Is that the agenda is posted, Carla? Yeah, so because that's how I have it here.
Yeah,
So Brian, go ahead.
it's supposed to be under H1. We had to make a quick switch out at like 4 o'clock this afternoon. And so I think in the haste of doing that, it might have gotten messed up a little bit.
I see.
It is publicly posted out front that it is
Okay.
H1.
Okay, that's fine.
So yeah, it's that G2 is effectively H1 and then the
Yeah.
rest are shifted down. So yep, that's how I have it here. Okay, so item 1, setting the public hearing date for May 18th, 2020 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers of City Hall to amend the fiscal year 2020 budget. Item 2, pay request from Hall & Hall Engineers Incorporated for Youth Ballfields 2019 for the amount of $18,555. Item 3, pay request from Snyder and Associates for the traffic study 2020 for the amount of $6,495.50. Item 4, pay request from WHKS and Company for the Business 218 North Resurfacing 2020 for the amount of $3,227.25. Item 5, pay request from Croell Incorporated for the 20th Street Northwest Reconstruction Railroad Crossing improvements at 20th Street and 5th Avenue Northwest 2018 for the amount of $153,974.58. Pay request from McClure Engineering Company for the Airport Runway 29 extension 2018 for the amount of $1,420.09. Item 7, pay request from McClure Engineering Company for the Airport Obstruction Removal Project 2020 for the amount of $3,000. And item 8 is a Class C liquor license for Water Street Grill. Seek a motion.
I will move the consent calendar as read by the mayor.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Rathe. Any discussion?
I do have a question on the traffic study from Schneider and Associates.
Go ahead.
Was that traffic study that was recently done when the traffic was a lot lighter due to the restrictions? And if so, is this a reduced amount, or do they plan on redoing that traffic study?
They will redo capturing the information later in the fall, but they are still getting into the boxes, looking at the hardware, seeing where the capability is. So there are a lot of different pieces of that study. They're just doing the other items they can without gathering the data at this point in time. So they're still continuing to make progress. So the data collection is the last thing they have to do when the opportunity comes, hopefully in the fall when Wartburg and the schools are all together.
Yeah, because a major part of that was infrastructure review and evaluation to see what we had.
Correct.
So, okay. Any other discussion?
Could I get a quick summary on the what's going on here on the budget amendment from James or from Jessica?
We're setting the public hearing for the 18th.
I guess what are the reasons for the amendment?
That's part of what we would discuss in the public hearing. I mean, that's why we're just setting it at this point in time. The majority of it is capital projects that don't end on June 30th, have to be accounted for in the current year as well, including projects that went into this year from last year. It's one-offs that have been before the council that have to be added in to accommodate the accounting for them, and et cetera. It's all the items that exceeded budgets or were not budgeted that still had to be done during the year. There'll be a summary provided before the hearing on the 18th. We're going to highlight the large single items. We're not going to get into the few $100s here and there in each single line. It's more meant to be the items that were brought to you as council ahead of time. Most of these should be familiar to you. And then it is doing the proper accounting for most of the construction projects, since we will be receiving bond proceeds in June as well. And we will be starting these projects before the fiscal year starts July 1. So we have to accommodate for the audit how much is spent, or at least an estimate of that during the month of June. So that is what you will receive before the 18th to review, and then we'll have that full discussion at that point in time.
Okay, thanks for that summary.
You're welcome, sir.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries on the consent calendar. Under regular business, item number 1 is Resolution 20-67, a resolution approving contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance from Feldman Concrete for the Downtown Alley Reconstruction 2020 project, and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract.
I will move approval of Resolution 20-67, approving contract, bonds, and certificate of insurance from Feldman Concrete of Dyersville, Iowa, the Downtown Alley Reconstruction 2020 project, and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Glaser. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Carla.
Beaufore,
Yes.
Birgen,
Yes.
Drenkow,
Yes.
Glaser,
Yes.
Kangas,
Yes.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
On a vote of 7-0 with 0 absent, Resolution 20-67 is approved. Item 2 is Resolution 20-68, a resolution approving change order number 2 and 3, and approving pay application number 2 for the Airport Obstruction Removal Project 2020.
I will move to approve Resolution 20-68, a resolution approving change order number 2 in the amount of a $3,495 increase, change order number 3 in the amount of a $7,813.25 increase, and approving pay application number 2 in the amount of $66,269.93 to Schneider Excavating and Grading Company of Walford, Iowa, for the Airport Obstruction Removal Project 2020.
Second.
Motion by Glaser, second by Rathe. Any further discussion?
I don't have a problem approving the change order on this. I guess I'm a little concerned. Is there any way that we can recover any of this cost from the sellers? Because apparently these were things that we weren't aware we were going to have to clean up or remove when we made the initial contract.
I guess the FAA is paying the bulk of this. When you look at how much the actual landfilling cost us, it was just under $3,000 total. Yeah, we didn't anticipate having buildings full of material and items and the tires. And I know Bill had been out there a number of times. They were moving slowly and they finally just left everything else that they didn't want to take with them. That does happen once in a while, unfortunately. There have been people that have left almost half full houses. But as far as going back to the sellers themselves, I think that would be difficult, but the federal government is covering the bulk of this. We only are covering 10-15% of the total cost. It's unfortunate, right? We didn't expect this at all, and this is what happens sometimes, and it was months and months and months later than we anticipated, but we're just thankful it's over and it's done.
Right, yeah, there's a certain point of no diminishing returns where trying to squeeze a lemon isn't going to get any more lemonade out of it. And I understand that. It's just kind of frustrating that this situation is there, but I'm glad that most of this cost is being picked up by the FAA.
Yes, sir.
Anything further? Hearing none, roll call, Carla.
Birgen,
Yes.
Drenkow,
Yes.
Glaser,
Yes.
Kangas,
Yes.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Beaufore.
Yes.
On a vote of 7-0 with 0 absent, Resolution 20-68 is approved. Item 3 is Resolution 20-69, a resolution awarding the citywide asphalt patching spring 2020 project.
I'll move approval of Resolution 20-69, awarding the citywide asphalt patching spring 2020 project to Glaser Construction of Farley, Iowa, for the bid amount of $10,766.02.
Second.
Motion by Rathe, second by Schneider. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Carla.
Drenkow,
Yes.
Glaser,
Yes.
Kangas,
Yes.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Beaufore,
Yes.
and Birgen.
Yes.
On a vote of 7-0 with 0 absent, Resolution 20-69 is approved. Item number 4 is Resolution 20-70, a resolution approving change order number 1 and approving pay application number 1 for the sanitary sewer lining 2020 project.
I'll move approval of Resolution 20-70, a resolution approving change order number 1 in the amount of a $10,773 increase and approving pay application number 1 in the amount of $47,595 to Municipal Pipe Tool of Hudson, Iowa, for the sanitary sewer lining 2020 project.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Birgen. Any discussion?
Yes, were these surprises? I mean, obviously we didn't realize that there were an additional 10 service connections in there, but I mean, that seems like a lot of things to miss. How are we not aware that those things were in there when we put this out for bids?
Well, I think as we get done with our GIS mapping, these things won't be much of a surprise anymore, but I'll let Mike kind of run through the basics of what happened. I know one of the bigger things was probably the switching from a 12-inch to an 8-inch back to a 12-inch. That's not something you see very often. But again, I'll let Mike kind of run through kind of what happened with this and where we are. And this was 2nd Street. We thought it was 1st Street. I want to make that clear. It was a typo at the time. The right street was done and done correctly, but I just want to make that note. So if you would, go ahead, Mike.
I did notice, James, that there was a lot of activity on 2nd Street and very little on 1st Street. So I was wondering about that.
That was a good thing, though, actually, because that was supposed to be on 2nd Street.
Yes, I'm glad too. So.
You're on mute, Mike.
Still on mute.
Still on mute. Second verse, same as the first.
Okay.
There you go. Welcome to the show.
Yes, glad to be here. So the sanitary sewer is in this location is over 13 feet deep, and it had been a number of years since it had been thoroughly televised and investigated. And this is an older part of town, so you think of Fairway as being a newer business. And so along this corridor, before you had Fairway, before you had St. Paul's School, there were a lot of homes or businesses. And so we had a lot more service connections. And so part of the project that's involved in this is that the contractor has to go in and televise, clean and televise the sewer main before they actually do the lining. And so during that process, they discovered that there were more services than we had records for. And so that was addressed in the work that was done. And that's the reason why we have it set up for them to televise before and after they get in there and clean it. So same thing with discovering that we actually had a 12-inch sanitary sewer. We had bore data and off of our mapping that dates back decades. So sometimes these surprises are unforeseen. They come up and we adjust and move on.
I assume that's rather difficult to go from a 12-inch line to an 8-inch line and back to a 12-inch line again?
Well, a lot of it, I'm not exactly sure where this section was. I think this was the last section to the south, and sometimes that does happen where they can switch back and forth, and it depends on the slope of the sanitary sewer. If you have a steeper slope, you can get by with a smaller main, and when it flattens out, you have to transition to a larger main to convey the same volume of fluid. So I believe this was the section, this may have been the section down by Bremer Avenue.
All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, Carla, roll call, please.
Glaser,
Yes.
Kangas,
Yes.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Beaufore,
Yes.
Birgen,
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
A vote of 7-0 with 0 absent. Resolution 20-70 is approved. Item 5. Resolution 20-71, a resolution approving change order number 2, accepting the Cedar Lane Reconstruction 2019 project as complete, approving pay application number 5, and approving pay application number 6 as the final pay request.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2071, approving change order number 2 in the amount of $1,387.50, a decrease, accepting the Cedar Lane Reconstruction 2019 project as complete, approving pay application number 5 in the amount of $8,680.62, and approving pay application number 6 in the amount of $41,723.65 as the final pay request to K. Cunningham Construction Company, Inc. of Cedar Falls, Iowa.
Second.
Motion by Schneider, second by Rathe. Any discussion?
I guess I have a question about the fact that apparently the project is not complete, but we're voting on the final payments. So I'm wondering why the rest of the work is not being done by the contractor.
I can again defer to Mike, but we are getting the roadway itself done. A lot of the work that still needs to be done is more the seeding, the filling of the ground on the side, the drainage on the sides. The roadway itself is complete, the curb, gutter, etc. It's the side items that still need some work to be done, some attention to be had to them. I know Pete did send an email to everybody, and I thanked him for that, and had a good discussion with him kind of with those items, but it's substantially complete, I guess is the term I would use, and oftentimes we will finish a project out with a punch list left to go, which is what I would consider these. Mike, do you have anything you'd want to add to that?
Yep, we know that there's some minor restoration drainage work that's left to be done, but it is work that we're coordinating with the adjacent property owner, and it may take several more weeks or even in excess of months to get things worked out. And so we did not want to basically hold that against the general contractor, that we have some coordination restoration work that we're coordinating with these adjacent property owners.
So if you saw punch list items, the city doesn't hold back some retainage for that, a little bit of money to make sure that they finish the work?
That we are in fact working with the local contractor to finish up some of the restoration work or the drainage work. So this would finalize out, change order out, and actually some of these are basically additions in order to make sure that our adjacent property owners are satisfied with the final restoration work.
But I guess my question was that work not in the original bid? I mean, is this typical that the general contractor isn't responsible for the finished work?
So a couple of these items are in effect in addition to what was in the original construction plans and documents. They are more akin to unforeseen conditions or changes in unforeseen site conditions that we are attempting to work through and may require some additional time to work through, or coordination with the adjacent property owner to do that. And we feel that it is that we're better able to meet the needs of the local property owners by engaging someone local to help with that restoration work or to do some of the finish work. Again, this is a little more finesse type work, and it may be outside of the original contract. And so rather than having the general contractor bring in a subcontractor that may be from out of town, some of these items we see as an opportunity to simply work with a local contractor and the adjacent property owners in order to meet their needs.
Did the drainage issues have anything to do with the road or the curb and gutter?
No, this is closer to Brown Lane at the north end. There's an area intake that was built according to the contract documents, but we feel that after seeing how it functions and operates, that there is we need to make some adjustments, and that there's a better way that will result in a better finished product but we think that that is something that is best coordinated between our staff and, again, a local contractor to get that work done. In order for the general contractor to do it, they would be justified in asking for additional compensation. They would be probably bringing a subcontractor back in that's not local in order to do the work. So this is something, again, that we feel would better be handled locally or with in combination with our city staff.
No, I remember. Oh, go ahead, Matthew.
Just a quick question, Mike. I know we had some waviness on that road that they were going to come back and grind that off this spring. Did that get completed to our satisfaction? I haven't, well, I've left my house, but I haven't been over there in 45 days. So.
Well, I drive it daily. I think it's fine. I know that there's a few others on the meeting here that drive it daily as well. So I'll let some others chime in to voice their opinion on whether the corrective action was satisfactory.
Was there corrective action done? I suppose that's what's not clear.
Absolutely. If you drive on, you can see the differentiation in the pavement. The straightaways were ground down accordingly. I think it fixed the problem. There's not really a wave at all in those areas. Like, it's very smooth, and it was not an issue in the curve sections. So you can definitely see the difference. And they did some grinding in the by the curb to help move water better, which then caused some of the better drainage issues. So it all kind of had a ripple effect. That's what Mike was alluding to. We'll fix the drainage issue. Sometimes it looks great on paper. Then you see this kind of terrain, you grade it. Now it works very efficiently, almost to the point it's too much for that to handle. So that will be addressed. And it's similar with the landscaping part of this. You know, when you look at the amount of rain that was had last fall, and they went ahead and got an early start on putting back the dirt work, et cetera, some of that gets washed again. Some of that gets settled in. You have to continue to go back and kind of keep repairing this or patching it in to the satisfaction of the homeowner. We want to make sure this is as good as when we started it. And to have somebody from out of town or even out of county come back and forth, simply not cost effective. We have local vendors here that can do as good a job, if not just as good, if not better. And they will be able to attend this quicker, more cost effectively, and more to the satisfaction of the homeowners themselves as they get this completed over the next how many weeks. You know, heavy rainstorms will settle a lot of that even more, and we'll have to continue to keep reapplying until this is finalized. But yeah, if you drive it, you'll definitely see the differentiation in the pavement markings, and you can tell the difference greatly.
But just from my understanding, this additional dirt work that's being talked about, that would be a change order, something that we would actually pay the contractor more to do, and then he would just subcontract it out to other people. So we might as well take care of that subcontracting ourselves.
Correct. Yep. Like Mike explained it well, locally, we might as well put that money in our own pocket right here instead of sending it out. I think the cost will be better for us overall. We were within budget on this item, so I don't think it's going to go over where we were. It's just making sure it's done right, and it will continue to have to be done this way for some time as the weather continues to rain and settle. And you ever do that in your own yard, you'll be settling this for another year in some places. I don't think that'll happen here as there was good compaction, but we'll continue to seed it, make sure it comes in like it should. And that was the whole point of just continuing locally instead of continuing to bring a contractor in multiple times. We just can pay them for what they've done, cut them loose, and handle it now here locally.
I was going to note, I guess my reading of it is we are under budget on the project as a whole. So we still have some room in what we had originally budgeted.
That is correct, sir.
Yeah.
Do we still have plans to mark the road? Is that something that was in the original plan?
The original plans did have some pavement markings going around the curve, but we kind of did a field adjustment that once the paving was done, that we thought that the longitudinal saw cuts clearly defined the center line and the edge of the travel lane, and our city crews added the chevrons going around the curve. So we felt that the centerline pavement markings were no longer necessary, and that it would also become a long-term maintenance issue for the city.
I would also say oftentimes the existence or the absence of center lane markings cause people to go slower. So if we're trying to slow down traffic somehow, when people see that line, they think I can go as fast as I want on my side of the line. So just the absence of those center lines may help slow traffic a little bit on that road too.
Any other final discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Carla.
Kangas,
Yes.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
excuse me. I'm sorry, I missed Snyder.
That was a yes.
Sorry about that. Beaufore,
Bless you, and yes.
thank you. Birgen,
Yes.
Drenkow,
Yes.
Glaser.
Yes.
Vote of 7-0 with 0 absent. Resolution 20-71 is approved. Item number 6 is Resolution 20-72 approving the engineering services agreement with McClure Engineering Company for a concrete apron rehab project at the Waverly Municipal Airport.
I will move Resolution 20-72 approving the engineering services agreement with McClure Engineering Company of Clive, Iowa for a concrete apron rehab project at the Waverly Municipal Airport for the not to exceed amount of $2,750 for preliminary and final design services, and if needed, for the bidding, project administration, and inspection services for a not to exceed amount of $3,250.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Rathe. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Carla.
Rathe,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Beaufore,
Yes.
Birgen,
Yes.
Drenkow,
Yes.
Glaser,
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
On a vote of 7-0 with 0 absent, Resolution 20-72 is approved. Item number 7, Resolution 20-73, approving the Waverly Health Center's refund request for the city's portion of the Bremer County's Building, Zoning, and Environmental Health Department's building permit and plan review fees incurred for the $36 million expansion and renovation project.
I'll move to approve Resolution 20-73, approving the Waverly Health Center's refund request for the city's portion of the Bremer County Building, Zoning, and Environmental Health Department's building permit and plan review fees incurred for the $36 million expansion and renovation project.
Second.
Motion by Glaser, second by Rathe. I'm going to make note there, Chris, that skipped over the dollar amount of $6,670. So that's
Sorry about that. 6,670.
Okay. Any discussion here?
Do
Is
we
this
have?
something we typically do?
I don't think it's typical. We have city-based buildings that have $30 million projects, so we certainly don't have this often. But we are usually not charged in our contract with the county who does this. We're not charged permit fees for county buildings. This is kind of a city buildings. This is a quasi-city building in the fact that the council itself is not overseeing this directly, and that is the phrase in the contract that keeps this from being charged in a sense. So the county did go ahead and charge permit fees. Had this been a council project for anything we would have built, we are not charged for those permit fees as part of our agreement for permitting with the county. So it is rare because we don't see a project this size very often. When you're looking at $67,000 in permit fees, that seems excessive. I know Jim is on here as well, who can speak to this. There are a number of cities that cap it at amount of say 50,000 or some other amount that it doesn't go in perpetuity as projects get larger and larger. So the request was made from the hospital to put this on, and so I obliged, and here you are to discuss.
I guess I see this as opening up a box or essentially refunding a permit fee. Would that, I mean, would it be granted to any other entity?
If it was city owned, I think it would be. This is just like utilities or any other city project, because it is our hospital. From the parental side of this, it can't be sold without city approval. It can't be continuing without city approval. That's why you approve the loans that come through. Even if there's not a liability, you're still the parent organization. The board is put in place by the city. It exists because of the city itself. So, as I said, similarly, if this was truly a city building under the city council, we never would have been charged permit fees at all. But because this is quasi, it does have its own board, just like utilities. That is why it's being requested and being looked at. It is a city function. So in a sense, you could grasp at it and say we are paying ourselves. That is certainly not the case necessarily. But very seldom would you see governments charging each other like this for permit fees.
How does this compare to the senior housing project that took place, that like 420 project north of the libraries? Was there permits charged for that?
I'm not sure. I'd have to check on that, but I don't know offhand. That's a good point though, Brian.
Because it seems like that's a very good comparison to what's going on with the hospital. This is another separate entity that needs the city approval to do any of these construction.
No, you're correct. Absolutely. And we receive 10% is what we get for the permits. The county keeps the rest of it. So we're talking about $6,700. They're not $67,000. The county will get the other $60,000 of this as part of the program.
But I mean, if we wanted to look to see what sort of precedents we've done in the past, I think looking at that senior housing project to see what we did there would be the best source of precedent.
I agree completely.
The only difference here, Brian, is that that project was, or the hospital project is several orders of magnitude larger than the project, the senior housing project. So if we were waiving the fees, even if that had not come up, the fees would probably have only been a couple of $100s we'd be waiving, and it may not even have been brought up for discussion. I think the reason here is because it's such a large project, and even at that, we're only looking at about $6,700 in fees. But I agree, we should set a policy and stick with it. I'm not sure we've ever really set a policy, so maybe that's what our discussion is tonight, is if we have a city, a quasi-city or city-owned entity that's charged these fees, should the city be simply waiving their portion of the fee? I think it's a little silly to me to be taking money out of one pocket and put it into another pocket in the city. It's if it's a entity that's for the benefit of the city, I would think that waiving these fees would make some sense. If it were, a non-city entity, for example, Wartburg College, we're putting up a building or something, that's a great benefit to the city, but it's not a city-owned entity.
I think that's the case, right? It is rare. I mean, there's only 3 such entities that exist: utilities, a hospital, and Waverly Homes now, as Brian had pointed out. Unless there's a project there, this really doesn't apply. As I said, city projects are not permitted fees through the county. So it is very rare. As again, there's 3 entities it could happen to. This is just one of the 3, and the second one, Waverly Homes, we will certainly look into that and see what that was.
I would also ask the question, if when the middle school was built, so the Waverly School Board, were there fees paid on those constructions?
I would assume so. Again, I can check on that as well, but I would assume so.
Okay.
So I guess I don't feel comfortable approving something that there's not a policy for. We should probably make a policy before I approve. I would say yes to something. Especially you said this is a rare thing that happens, but maybe it does happen enough that we should have a policy. So again, I don't feel comfortable approving something that we don't have a policy for, because I think that can open up a big can of worms. You know, for instance, if you're saying maybe, I don't know if we did this for this project or that project, maybe we did, maybe we didn't. Well, if we didn't, now all of a sudden now they're going to come back and say, well, I want ours reimbursed if that's the case. So I guess without that knowledge, I don't feel comfortable approving it.
So my question is, so similar to what Heather is saying is, if we are setting a precedent and making this decision, I would like to know that we're making a precedent. So I would really like to know what has been done in the past. So when we look at the Waverly Senior Housing, when we look at what was done for the building of the middle schools and the high school, so I could know, are we setting a precedent when we make this decision, or are we just doing what's been done in the past? I would like to ask if we could postpone this until we can have that information ready for us.
That's up to you as a council. I have no issue with it.
Okay. Is Jim? I'd like to hear Jim add his input on that.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Jim.
Yep. Thank you very much. Thanks for the consideration. All valid points. The biggest issue is what Mr. Drenkow pointed out is it's the size of the project in a town like Waverly that doesn't typically see a $36 million construction project. Because of that, there hasn't been a policy speaking to a cap. And that's why a project like this balloons out of control when it comes to setting these permits, right? And so if we were building this in other towns, we would see permits down in the 20s. I mean, if we were building it in Cedar Rapids, it's a different story. If we were building it in some comparable towns, it would have been significantly lower. And so from our perspective, what we're having a hard time wrapping our arms around is what are we getting for, what's the benefit of $70,000 that we're shelling out for this? What's the oversight? What is what's the purpose? And so in conjunction with, whether or not the precedent wants to be set, which is perfectly understandable, I think it'd be helpful to know what makes up the $7,000 that the city would ultimately be reimbursed for or being paid for.
Is this timing wise, would a delay for 2 weeks be a problem, Jim, or is this?
Not at all.
Okay. The other question I would have would be also to look back at the last hospital expansion back in, what was it, 05, and see if there was a waiver on that one as well.
I can find that out.
So actually, when you look at this situation, there's two different parts of it. The county and the city have a contract, and we're talking about an interpretation of the contract between the city and the county. So the way we have this is that in the contract itself, it says that if the city council has control of a project, it is direct control. The county's taken the position that the hospital is not under the direct control of the city council, and that things like the other projects you're talking about with city projects, and even with the Waverly Homes, which would probably have been a direct control of the city council because it's a city project. So we probably didn't pay any fees for that. What the hospital is asking us to do is actually just waive our 10% as a city, which I think is something that you can do if you want to do it. The rest of it, though, is really a matter of contract, not a policy. You'd have to change the contract, not just establish a policy.
Or the policy would only be for our 10%.
I was just saying, not only do you have to change the contract, you have to change the interpretation of the contract.
Correct.
Because you could interpret that contract differently.
Right. Well, you have to establish what the parties intended by the contract. You just either you agree or somebody else has to decide that, and that's usually a judge. Because what you're talking about is, why did they put in the very specific provision that says that the project has to be under the direct control of the city council? That language means something, and the county takes that as meaning it's not when you have a board, a school board or a hospital board, that type of thing. So it really is about battling out that language of that contract and what it means.
So that language tells me that we don't have this control over that, and that we shouldn't be paying this. this 10%. Did the county pay back any of this?
The county it's part of the money. They want the fees because their position is that's how they pay their people, and they'll do a significant amount of work over the 3 years that this contract or that this project goes on. And so there is a good argument that is that they will be working quite often and quite long hours with this type of project and the size of this project. They'll be on site, they'll be examining things, they'll be judging things. That doesn't mean, but it's a contract that's basically provides for a mechanism to allow the city to allow payment to the county for the services they're doing. And
yeah, but I suppose my question is, for those Waverly senior homes, did the county charge us fees? Or I would imagine the city did not charge fees, but did the city charge fees? Did the county charge fees? In the building of the middle school, did the county charge fees? Did the city charge fees? Were those reimbursed? These are kind of, I'd like to know what has been done in the past. And as Tim said, what happened for the last hospital expansion? Did the county charge fees? Did the city charge fees? So we know what has been done in the past, so we can know to what extent we are breaking with what has been done previously.
We can check with that, and I'm guessing that my thought is that we did not pay any fees on the Waverly homes, but we'll check that for sure. I have no idea on the school projects.
I tried asking about the hospital. We'll have to get that tomorrow. Sorry.
So I guess I'm with this, the verbiage though, that Bill said that really we don't have control over this. Therefore, those funds should have been charged and we shouldn't be reimbursing them. That's the verbiage that, me as a lay person understands it. I think it's pretty clear that we probably should not be, that I'm going to vote no.
But my counter argument to that would be is we were just there 2 weeks ago asking for you to ratify a loan that went to the federal government that has no extension of liability because the Secretary of State says that we are under the city's jurisdiction. So if you go to the Secretary of State's office, it says Waverly Municipal Hospital is a city-owned entity. And their interpretation of that is that we have to come to you for everything. And so I would say that this is a one-off that you're making right now by saying that we are not we're not a city entity.
That's not what I said. I didn't say that. I said that the verbiage says that we have no control over this project. So, and we don't have control over this project.
What verbiage said that?
Isn't that what Bill said? Bill, can you kind of reiterate that or
Right. In the contract with the county, okay, no, not. In the contract with the county, we have provision in there that says we charge building fees, on everything that the council has control of. So if it's a public services building, if it's the airport, if it's those things that the city controls directly, then we don't have to pay the fee, the building fee. They still have to work with us on those projects, but we don't have to pay them a fee. But that language of direct control by the council it has to be interpreted. I don't know what was intended when the parties entered into that 20 years ago or whatever it was. So that's something we really need to check on when it comes to what part of it's going to the county. I think the city can decide that since we take 10% of the fees, it's really to help our planning and zoning and our community development area. And if we feel we don't need that 10%, waiving that is a different issue than whether the project should be paying the county the full $60,000, the rest of it. So those are, to me, two different issues. The 10% is something I think the council has the ability to just make that decision.
The rest of the agreement dictates that they actually report indirect by us when it comes to these. I think you could expand that you as a council could direct them to not charge this in general. Again, it's interpretive. We may have to go to a lawyer to get it done, but I think there's a lot of gray area in this organization in this agreement with the county. Again, we are employing them to do our work for us instead of having our own individuals do it. So if we were to determine we don't want to charge this, I believe they would have to follow that according to the way that contract agreement is written. So there's a lot of ways we can look at this. We're not looking to circumvent anything, but we have full authority over the hospital. You as a council, if you don't approve the funding, you don't approve the finances, the bonding, et cetera, it simply doesn't happen. I don't know how they can say that isn't control over the hospital or utilities or anything generated by the city, set up by the city's code, and the members appointed by the city council. I mean, we can argue it as much as we want, but I still think we shouldn't have been charged as a hospital, as a city for these fees. But that language, as Bill said, is interpretive. And so as we sit today, the only thing we know for sure is that the 6,700 is a portion of the city's. You can certainly delay it. I have no issue with that whatsoever. You can look at it, investigate it more, but I still think I'd like to get interpretation from the county as to what they believe that paragraph does say, with the understanding that that is a city facility, regardless of how it reads.
I agree that we need more clarification and about this, and I just don't want it to come back and have other people say, okay, well, we need to find out what we did in the past, and we need clarification of it.
I understand completely, ma'am. And I'm more than willing, and Mayor, if you'd like to postpone, I think it's the appropriate thing to do at this time.
I would second Brian's motion on that.
Thank you, sir.
So, Carl, what did we end up doing? Did we redact the original motion?
It's a motion to postpone, and I think you should have a date of, say, May 18th. We could put it back on there and hopefully have that information by then.
Right.
Would this just be a voice vote to postpone?
I believe so, but Carla, are you sure?
Yes, those over there nodding.
I think a voice vote to put it on the next agenda.
Is it going to hurt to do a roll call?
Nope. You can always do a roll call, sir.
Let's just do a roll call just to cover the bases. Carla, please.
Okay. Schneider, this is to postpone.
Yes.
Beaufore.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes to postpone.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Glaser.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
And Rathe.
Yes.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. On a vote of 7-0 with 0 absent, we have postponed resolution 20-73 to the May 18th meeting. Section J, reports from boards and commissions. Item 1 is Bremer Waverly Law Board minutes of March 9th of 2020. And number 2 is Leisure Services Commission minutes of March 19th of 2020, both received into the record. Staff updates.
I don't know if we have any other than Garrett popping in. He might.
Yep, I do have a few for you tonight. Good evening to everyone. I wanted to let you know the golf course and dog park did open back up on Friday. So those are up and going again. We have the community gardens planting day this coming Saturday, the 9th. We are looking for volunteers. The volunteer time will be from 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock in the morning. We do have social distancing guidelines in place. If you would like to volunteer, please contact either me in the Leisure Services office or Ron Lemph at Bremer County Extension. He's keeping track of the volunteers. We are trying to limit it so that we don't have too many people down there in that space, but we'll take any of the volunteers we can get. Another volunteer opportunity is the Trees for Kids planting project. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we have received a grant for Trees for Kids. And each year we plant between 70 and 100 trees. using middle school volunteers on their middle school day, which usually falls here in the middle of May. Unfortunately, we will not be having those middle school volunteers this year, and we have 88 trees to plant. So next week is going to be our planting week. So we are looking for volunteers to come in Monday, May 11th through Friday, May 15th. If you'd like to volunteer for one time slot on one of those days, our time slots are going to be 8 o'clock a.m., 10 a.m., or 1 o'clock p.m. Probably take about between an hour and a half to 2 hours to plant 3 trees. City staff or Trees Forever representative will be in place to kind of walk you through the first planting, and then from there, say to 2 other addresses to plant trees. We're asking that any volunteers are same household or limit it to 2 or 3 in a group. Let's see, I think I mentioned that each group will plant 3 trees. To get signed up for that and signed up for a time, you can check with me in Leisure Services, or we will be having a news release come out this week, giving some more information for a Google document that you can sign up on as well. So if anyone would like to volunteer, please get a hold of me. We can use a lot of volunteers for that as well. We have a lot of time slots to fill and a lot of trees to plant. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I don't think we have any others, sir.
I do have one. Carla wanted to briefly discuss census.
So I just wanted to let you know that as of this morning, I went online and Waverly is 70.7% reported. So that's really good. Bremer County is at 70.3%. So Waverly is ahead of the curve. And actually Iowa is at 64.0%. So we're way ahead of the state ranking. And we're actually ranked 3rd in the nation for our reporting. Nationally, it's 56.3. So, but ahead of us is Minnesota and Wisconsin. So it'd be nice to jump ahead of them very soon. But anyway, we are looking forward to beating our numbers from 2010. Really like as many people to report as possible. And there has been extensions on the deadlines. They will not be until August 31st now. It's moved from July 31st. And the census is still hoping to report to the president before December 31st. So that's kind of the update. And I would encourage everybody to get out there and fill out your census. It's just 9 questions. It's very easy. So yeah, thank you.
Some people have nothing better to do during their day. They can take up about 5 minutes of their time. So, all right, city council comments. I'm just going to start in my top left is Mr. Birgen.
So I would like to draw attention to the fact that the weather is getting nicer and there's a lot of people who are stuck inside in quarantine. So a lot more people are getting out and using the rail trails and doing outdoor activity. So I would like to encourage all of the bicyclists to practice safety when riding out on the roads and on the bicycle trails. So that means that wear your helmet if you're going to be riding your bicycle. If you are overtaking someone and passing someone, announce your presence. On your left is a common phrase. It also means that for those people who are out on the trails, be aware of bicyclists. So if a bicyclist comes along, please make room for them. You may need to step to one side to make sure that there are rooms for the bicyclists. Please share the trails. If you are walking your dog, please make sure your dog is on a leash. There are many bicyclists who have had, who are traumatized by dogs with good reason. People who have had bad experiences with dogs. Dogs, for some reason, like to chase bicyclists, and sometimes they catch them. So if you are walking on the trail, please make sure that your dog is on a leash. If a bicyclist approaches, please keep your dog close to you. We do not want to clothesline any bicyclists who happen to find the leash between you and your dog. So just practice good safety when you're out there on the bicycle trails, both bicyclists and pedestrians. Let's share the trail because there's a lot of people out on the trails, and let's just try to be safe.
Thank you, sir. Over to Ward 3, Mr. Drenkow.
Okay, well, I would just like everyone to know that the condition of the landscaping on the west side of the Casey's, it's on the corner of 4th Street and 10th Avenue Southwest. It's been noted, and we'll be keeping an eye on it. So all I have tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Move to Ward 2, Mr. Glaser.
I just wanted to remind folks of the United Way and their availability for food resources. They have a list of different organizations around the community for those that are facing food insecurity. I know we're sort of still in that COVID-19, and there are some that are experiencing some of that. So give United Way a call, 352-2582, and they will direct you to the right organization to get help.
Yeah, a good fallback number for them is always 211, easy to remember too. So thank you, sir. Move on to Ward 4. Other.
Not really a whole lot to say, but Brian, I too was out a lot over the past week, 2 weeks on the river. I am so proud to be part of our river community, and I just wish we could highlight our river community a lot more. A lot of people out on the river locally, in town, above and below the dam, doing multiple types of activities from fishing, boating, skiing, and kayaking, and much more. So definitely be safe out there. And it was really nice to see a lot of people being very safe on the river, and just seeing a lot of people utilizing the river. I haven't seen that many people utilize it in such a long time. It was really good to see. However, just be safe. So.
Thank you, ma'am. Move over to at-large, Ms. Rathe.
I'll reiterate what Brian said. I've been out on the trail quite a bit with my dog on a short leash. And I just want to tell parents that thank you for putting helmets on your kids who are on their bikes or their rollerblades, but you also should wear a helmet. Your brain is just as important as your kids, and that goes for motorcycles too. This time of year, everybody gets out their motorcycles, and I've seen a lot of people without helmets. So that's always worrisome. Thanks to the recycling center staff and the yard waste site for being open. It was a very busy place on Saturday. You can tell people are cleaning out their garages and closets because the cardboard crushing machine was going constantly. So thanks to the city staff for being open.
Thank you. And at large, Mr. Schneider.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And Ward 5, Mr. Kangas, my Mayor Pro Tem.
I would just note that we've had a few successful meetings here by Zoom, and we're going to branch out here this week with planning and zoning on Thursday night. So those that are usually tuning in, riveted to the government TV channel to pick up their government news. P&Z will be also doing a Zoom session on Thursday. And if I read my email correctly today, Board of Adjustment will also be going on Monday next week. So a couple more chances to catch the action this way.
All right, thank you. I have just a few things here. Don't forget, absentee ballots are available to request for the June 2nd primary. I always forget this, and Kangas would come back or Brian would come back. Mr. Mark Harms, I'm going to give you your opportunity before I continue. Sorry.
Thank you for the opportunity for being able to sit in. From what it seems to me, you guys have a strong council and you're very efficient and tidy. And that's always good to see. I know working at John Deere, we're also dedicated to efficiency and doing the right thing. And lastly, I'm just going to put a plug in for, I know we're all educated to a degree on COVID-19, but let's just all continue to pay attention to those in our midst who maybe aren't as strong as some of the folks online here tonight, and keep an eye out for anybody who may be vulnerable in terms of the loneliness or any mental health issues that they may be feeling. So again, thank you for letting me sit in.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. So yeah, to continue absentee ballots, going off the bike trail comments there, as a Lions Club member, we do volunteer. We haven't been out there yet to do trash cleanup, trash removal. So please be courteous on the trail. Carry out what you carry in. I've been down there and it's been pretty good, but it's still kind of early. So everybody appreciates a nice, clean, tidy trail. Was excited to see that we will be hosting, or the fire department will be hosting at the Cobblestone, the 2020 Iowa Volunteer Fire Chiefs Conference in October. So bringing some events and outside individuals or groups to town was really nice. And the last thing is that couple in our midst here on the meeting, but coming up before our next meeting, this coming Sunday is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to everybody out there and the mothers that are on this meeting as well. So other than that, I have nothing further, so I'll seek a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Schneider and Birgen, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.